Hey everybody. Let me know if you can see me there or if anybody's online. Anybody? Not seeing anybody yet in the chat. Says I'm live, but nothing happening. There's somebody. What's up? Merry Christmas from Tokyo, folks. We got Holland. Yeah, we got Denmark. And good old Canada. Felix is in Canada. So sorry for the random time, guys. I finally slept a little bit last night. Jet lag was brutal this trip for some reason. I just haven't been able to sleep. So I tried to sleep in as much as I could, which amounted to 6:50 a.m. That's how far I made it, which wasn't too bad, I guess. So then I got up and decided, oh, I better get online and do one of these. Because it's Sunday. There's Ohio, Toronto, Alabama, Netherlands, and somebody's talking about the KFC. So in Japan here, it's a thing. Somehow, it became a thing that everybody eats KFC on Christmas Eve. I don't know. It's just a thing here. So last night after rehearsal, a whole mountain of KFC showed up. I can't eat fried chicken because I don't eat gluten. So I had something else. But anyway, somebody got a Sir Classic tea for Christmas here. Sir Classic tea, and that's Justin got a Sir Classic tea. Says he's in love. Ruined you for all your other guitars. You know, man, I've been really experiencing that this week. Sometimes, you know, you get spoiled, and sometimes I forget how good my Sir guitars are, honestly. And I only could bring a couple guitars this trip, so I'm using some borrowed guitars. One of which is amazing. It's a '53 Telecaster that that my friend Seiki over here, he's a musical director for the artist I play with. It's his guitar. And it had a few issues with the electronics and stuff, and he was okay with me actually. It wasn't all original anyway. The pickups are original, the parts are original, but there have been some wiring changes and stuff over the years. And I think there's something malfunctioning with his bridge pickup. So we put in a set of just 52 no-caster, Fender pickups in it, and a whole new wiring harness with new pots and caps and stuff. And now it's just, it's the coolest looking guitar. It's got so much, it looks like it's been in bars for the last 60 years. And feels so good and nice and worn in. And so he's lending me that. And it's just a terrific guitar. Because it's just right for a few things. I have to kind of play a telly. But my signature Sir guitar is so damn good, and it does really spoil me for just about every other instrument. It's so versatile and plays so good. And when you got to try a bunch of different, a bunch of Rendels came out and stuff, and different guitars, and I was like, I can't play any of these guitars. They were, truth be told, they were not set upgrades and stuff like that too. So it's like, but there was a vintage Strat that came at like a '70s, probably '73 or '74 or something. It was just like not a playable guitar, and a few others. So they do good work over there at Sir. They do, and it's just the truth. Merry Christmas from Texas. What's up, Texas? Good to see you here. And Steven is from Indiana. What's up? So Jello Man saying, how's Japan? Done some gigs yet? No, but I have rehearsed for 8 days straight. The artist I play with, he likes to rehearse a lot and really work on, like when there's a break between gigs, he's not going to make the next gig the same as the last one. There's going to be a lot of rearranging things and segues and revisiting songs in different ways and things like that. He doesn't really like to repeat himself. And he likes to try a lot of different things. So you might try a song like 5 different ways, You might decide that he likes something and then maybe change his mind, and then you got to come in and kind of reinvent it the next day, and he's got all new ideas, and you just sort of have to roll with that way of going at it. And so consequently, there's a lot of rehearsal. Haley's in Edmonton. What's up, Edmonton? What's up, homie? Cheers. Yeah. So, no gigs yet. The gigs are the 30th and the 31st. So, we'll rock out here for a couple more days and then go to Kagoshima, down in the south of Japan. That's where the gigs are, which is Kyoshi's hometown. And let's set up and do a rehearsal down there, production rehearsal, and then do 2 gigs at the arena down there. Should be fun. A lot of fun. Looking forward to it. New Year's is going to be fun. And should be warmer and stuff too. Although it's warmed up here the last couple of days. Not too bad right now. It's really cold for a couple of days. That humid kind of wet cold, you know. Gets you right to the bones. And Merry Christmas from Ontario, says BK. What's up? Good to see you here. In Switzerland. So cool. Somebody's asked me about a Caitlin bread pedal, the Dirty Little Secret Mark I. Never tried it. I don't have a lot of experience with Caitlin bread pedals other than one kind of heavy distortion pedal that I thought was really good. And I know a lot of people like the delay. What do I think about using the Sir Riot Reloaded basically as a preamp itself, says Rick James. You know, the Riot Reloaded, actually Ichiro, the other guitar player in the band, is using it. It sounds great. It's kind of my favorite distortion sound he's had. He's playing it in front of a, it's like a Seriatone kind of clone of a 2-rock, I think, is what it is. So it's a Fender amp, and it sounds really good over there in this rig. You're asking about using it as a preamp, and does that mean that you want to come right out of it and go into a recorder or something like that? I'm not really sure. So maybe I'll look in the chats here and see here if you respond on how you mean you want to use it. The Riot Reloaded is a sort of more martially version of the Riot than the original Riot, which is kind of a very full-bodied sort of modern distortion. And then the Riot Reloaded, to me, gears sort of slants more towards like that kind of like the JCM 800 to sort of more like modded JCM 800 sort of sound, kind of a high gain. Who am I playing with in Japan? Toshi Nagabuchi is the artist. What will I have for dinner tonight? Just curious, because you said they eat KFC in Japan. Well, KFC was last night, Christmas Eve. KFC. Evidently, and I'm not even kidding, you can't even get KFC on Christmas Eve. You have to like book in advance. Like, so you like plan your KFC party, and then you have it delivered or pick it up or something. I don't know, but it's like a plan in advance thing, and it's like huge. And I never had heard of that. I had no idea. There's Idaho, and Mike says he's in Hamilton, Ohio, and he loves my videos. Thanks, man. Sorry I'm not putting up more. There's another person from Ohio, too, so happy Festivus. Sorry I'm doing more videos in the can to put up while I'm gone. There is one I want to get edited up. I think I have 2 days off tomorrow and the next day. I'm not 100% sure, but if I do, I'm going to spend a little bit of time editing my my Warwick and Framus factory tour video. I'll get that up, in a few days, so that I've got some content coming up, because I just don't really have anything right now for YouTube. When I get back, I'll be getting back to work and putting out a bunch of stuff. But, yeah, how's the new pedalboard working out? It's perfect, I have to say. It is awesome. I love it. It sounds great. It's quiet. I love all the pedals on it, basically. There's nothing I even really feel like changing. It just works really, really, really slick. Really into the switcher now. Like, I can run it pretty quick. It takes a learning curve of a week or something, I think, to get used to a new pedal switcher, especially like navigating it, and programming and stuff. But I'm really fast on it now, and everything's great. I love it. It's a good thing. What's the worst thing about being a hired gun? That's a good question. Probably the hardest. I wouldn't say it's the worst, because worst is kind of it's just the reality of being away a lot, which can affect a number of different things, like other career choices or paths that, obviously if you're not going to get called for sessions, or if you do, you'll be like, oh, sorry, I'm out of town. Somebody else will get the call. And people assume you're out of town a lot. So, you know, they might not call you for things. You'd be like, oh, I thought you were away. And it's like, no, I've been in town for 3 months or whatever. Like, so when you're home, you got to really let people know you're around. But also, it just takes its toll on your relationships, personal relationships and stuff, just the distance. And, you know, that's been the hardest thing, I think. I don't think anybody would tell you that. It's hard to be away, you know. If you have a family, if you have kids, if you have, you know, it's tough. And if you don't, it makes it harder to put that together because it's a lot to ask of people to be away all the time, you know. It is a lot to ask people. So, okay, I'm gonna page down a little bit further here, and Dan says, "I really wish you a great New Year." Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I wish you, all you guys out there, happy New Year too. I do. And Honduras is online. That's cool. Nicholas from Honduras. What's up? Never been there. Been close. Been to like Costa Rica and Panama and stuff, but never Honduras. It's close, right? Basically, kind of sandwiched in the middle there. What's going on with Parker guitars? I don't know. Is there something going on? I've only played a few Parker guitars in my life. I did like that lightweight thing. It's pretty cool. What's my take on the Friedman buffer bay? It's awesome. The buffer is really, really high quality. And it, you know, it's a simple box that just allows you to plug in your cables easily. But I do like having, like on a pedal board, I don't think it's great to always be plugging and unplugging the jacks on the pedals themselves. So that's, on my old board, it was like the 2 jacks on the H9 were the outputs of my board, and I never liked that. They're kind of, I don't know, it's just like, I believe you want to have all that stuff plugged in and just dialed and stuff, and then have something else is where you are constantly plugging in and out all the patch cables. And it just makes me feel better about the whole thing as far as lasting a long time and stuff like that. Hermosa Beach, what's up, Hermosa Beach? South Bay. Never lived down there. I always thought about maybe I should move to the South Bay. Go to like Manhattan or Hermosa and just find a whole new deal down there, but it's just so far removed from the rest of LA is the only thing, which is a great thing, and then maybe limited too. You got to get from Hermosa Beach to the Valley or something. It's a trek in traffic. And we got Netherlands, and Mary KFC says guitar hi. And do I like oatmeal? I like oatmeal. I do. That's an actual question. Body knowledge. I totally like oatmeal. It's one of the things I can kind of eat generally as long as it's got no gluten in it. Merry Christmas from Belgium. What's up, Belgium? I like Belgium a lot. That's Christmas must be pretty cool in Belgium. That square, that amazing square in the middle of Brussels, with chocolate everywhere, and the Delirium Village. I like that place. Go there to get gluten-free beers. If you've never been to Brussels, go to the Delirium Village, which is like a group of bars kind of upstairs, downstairs. It's crazy, and if you like beer, it's like you freak out because they've got so much beer in there. It's unbelievable. What are my thoughts on the two notes La Crunch preamp? Those are cool units. I haven't really messed with the La Crunch much, more the clean and the lead. I've used the lead actually in a video or two. And then the clean I think would serve as a good sort of pedal platform preamp pedal on a pedal board. The Crunch one I haven't messed with that much, to tell you the truth. Okay, let's see here. Chris got a setup with the Surreactive Load UA Apollo Twin. Cool. Mix IR2 and Celestion IRs. It sounds great, but I hear a lot of fizziness. Okay, so you need to mute the inputs on the Apollo Twin's console software. Okay, so you should only be listening to if you're hearing fizz ever when using an impulse response setup, it's probably because you're hearing the dry guitar signal of the amplifier without speaker simulation on it. So you can add the speaker simulation in your DAW or whatever, but you're still going to be hearing the input of your recording interface unless you mute it, which you generally have to do in their software recording console. And in the UA, it's called console, UA console, and you go in and whatever channel that your guitar is coming in on, push the mute button on that channel, and the fizziness shall disappear. I hope that helps. And I hope it helps understanding why. You know, you're also going to get phase problems because you're going to be listening to the input going through the console, going through the Apollo, and that's the analog input. It's pre-analog to digital conversion. Then your signal is going to get converted to digital, and because of that, it's going to be a little bit delayed, just a little bit, like a few milliseconds, right? Because it's got to go through that process, and that just takes a few milliseconds. Then it's going to go into your DAW, and you're going to be listening to the return channel through the DAW with it record enabled, or at least with input enabled on it. And yeah, record enabled. And you're going to have a plug-in out with the speaker simulation, right? So now you've got a kind of a slightly delayed version coming through, and you're hearing that, and then you've also got the initial pre-analog to digital conversion signal that you're hearing coming through console. If you listen to both of those at the same time, you're going to hear fizziness because it's not going to, the input's not going to have speaker simulation on it yet. That's happening later in the DAW down the chain. And you're also going to hear phasing problems because the input is going to be slightly earlier than what's coming through the DAW. I hope that makes sense. You never want to listen to both at the same time, and generally I'm always listening through the in Logic through the channel. I'm not listening to the input. The only exception to that is sometimes if I'm using, say, a modeler or something, then I can listen to the input because it's already got the speaker simulation on it coming out of the unit itself. So then if I choose to, I could mute the channels in Logic and only listen to the input. Some people like to do it that way because there's no latency. Me, I don't really care about a few milliseconds of latency as long as it's not too much. And then I'll just listen through the return. But it's a pain in the ass also when you're, you know, a lot of people like that there's no latency, but then every time that you go to listen to the track, like, okay, I think that was a good take, let's check it out, you need to go in and then unmute the track in the DAW. It's going to be muted and you're listening. I hope that it's too far out in the weeds for most of you, but I find that a pain to constantly be muting and unmuting that record channel so that I can play listening with no latency. It's not worth it to me. I just listen through Logic. Okay, I hope that helps. Do I prefer wet dry or stereo? Well, these days, just for simplicity, I prefer stereo. There is something to the whole wet dry thing and keeping the dry cabinet, and Scott Henderson has a thing where he doesn't want the effects in the dry amplifier. He doesn't want to hear the effects coming through that cabinet. He wants the pure guitar sound coming out of that cabinet, and then he blends in that. He's got a separate little combo he puts there plugs into the input. It's very lo-fi the way he does it, but I thought it sounded great. It's kind of a simple wet dry rig. And there's an immediacy, I think, to having the effects in a separate cabinet. It's like it's not mucking up the connection between the pickup and the speaker. You've got a more direct kind of, feedback loop happening there. So I think there's something to that. But as far as, in practice, I think that a stereo rig is more easy to deal with. There's 2 amps in stereo with the effects in the effects loops. It works great for me, honestly. It's just easier for the sound guy too. I always had trouble explaining to sound people wet dry, because especially if you're just going to do like a one-off gig somewhere and you bring a wet dry rig with a center dry cabinet and then like 2 stereo cabs or something like that, it's really difficult to explain, because it's like, yeah, so sometimes there's sound coming out of these wet cabs, and sometimes there's not. Just mix all those mics at the same level and you should be good. And so they don't know what to think of it when they look at it. They see they're going to see the 3 inputs on their mixer, and they're looking at the levels, and it's like the middle one's real hot, the dry one, and then the other ones have some like stuff bouncing around in them. They're like, I don't know, maybe I should turn those up, like, and then that's just your delay or whatever. And so it just is kind of a nightmare if you're like a rock star, It makes sense if you're Eddie Van Halen or something, because then you can, obviously, you want a huge guitar sound live. 3 mics is not a problem. Working with a sound guy one-on-one to get it just perfect is not a problem. In those instances, it totally makes sense. And when you're the only guitar player, kind of like filling up a huge amount of sound in the band, it totally makes sense. I tried it when I was playing with Chris Cornell and also with Don Henley, and now I kind of sort of regret doing that kind of. I mean, it always sounded good in Chris's setup, and I got to work with the sound guy for a good amount of time to make it work. In Don's setup, it's like the band was big. It was like 2 guitar players, 2 keyboard players, a lot of vocals going on and stuff, and in those situations, a more like sort of pinpointed, probably mono sound is actually better. So the other guitar player, Stuart, he had a very, very simple rig. He was using a PD Classic, and 57 on it, I think, and some simple pedals. And he cut through the mix like better than me. And I was like, a learning thing. Like, this isn't always the right thing to do. You should use a simpler rig with this group, more focused, with lots of full mids and stuff like that, and be like, occupy your space in the band, because there's a lot going on, and you need to be a more pinpointed sound is a good thing. So wet dry. I haven't had a ton of success with it, even though I think it's cool in some situations. It's probably just more a reflection on the type of gigs that I've done than anything. I would explore it again, maybe if I was in a trio and I was the only guitar player. Okay, what else we got here? Bulgaria, what's up, Bulgaria? Peter from Bulgaria. Far away, far away. Maybe not that far away from me right now. Bulgaria. Hello from Switzerland. Oh, of course the chat jumped back, so I'm saying hi to the same people again. Well, somebody's asking the same question again, which is about the Caitlin Bread Dirty Little Secret, which I've never tried. I'm sorry. I'm not 100% sure about that one. How do you use a load box while still listening to the amp through a cabinet? Well, you could take the through jack on the load box. So, what do you want to do exactly? Like, there's a couple different ways you can do it. Like with a Sur reactive load, you can put it on one of the outputs of the amp and then take a line out of the reactive load and go to the console, and then you can also take the other output of the amp and run it to a cabinet, let's say. So in the case of the that situation, you use the two 4-ohm outputs on the amp, and you would plug one of them into the reactive load, and you would plug a few dB. So you can use the reactive load to sort of attenuate a little bit in that situation. This is video output low, so let me know if you guys have a problem seeing this or not. Internet can be spotty in hotels, of course, so it's going to buffer a little bit. Okay, so that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is you could use the reactive load on one of the speaker outputs of the amplifier, and then just plug the line out on the plug the through on the reactive load through to a cabinet. So now you're going to just be running through the reactive load. It's passing the signal through to the cabinet. Then you can take the line out, and at that point it becomes kind of a glorified line out box. You're not really using the load portion of the reactive load at all. Oh, alarm's going off. So there's a couple different ways to do it, I guess, depending on what you want to do. I'm going to move down a little bit here in the chat. Let's see. What do I use mostly for recording? Old school miking, load boxes, digital hardware, amps, or software? To be honest, I would say it's almost a completely even split between all those things at this point. It really is. About even. Because my home recording setup is like a Kemper and Helix, and now I've got the AX8 I'm trying at home as well. But at the studio, it's kind of split 50-50 between miking and probably a little bit more using the load box with a real amp than miking, just because of my situation right now. I am planning on doing some work in the studio. I'm planning on moving into a different room at the facility I'm in, and actually I want to build an ISO closet for a cabinet again, and kind of have that. I have a big room that at certain hours of the day I can record live cabs in when there's nobody else around. But not that it's limiting, it doesn't really matter. The load box is made, like if I can't play through a live cabinet, it doesn't bother me at all. Use the reactive load in the IRs, it sounds great. It's just sometimes you want to use a cabinet just for mojo or whatever, microphones and cabs. So I'm going to build a closet, I think, in there for a cabinet to kind of have it buried. Always had that. I mean, when I lived in I had this little place, and that was where you saw my early videos when it looked like it was in a house. And I had a 112 buried in a closet, mic'd. and it always sounded good. That's why I did most of the Guitar Nerd record with that little Bogner 112. Sounded really good. I'll build a little bit more deluxe version of that. Was a very ghetto setup that I had, but it worked. Yeah, I want to be able to put at least a 212 cabinet, if not a 412, and have it big enough that it sounds good. Have I been to Nagoya? Yeah, I've been to Nagoya. I have been there on the, I don't think since 2014. Excuse me, but yeah, played there 2014. Let's see here. Any chance of doing a behind-the-scenes video from a rehearsal or gig? Yeah, I might try and see if it's okay if I take a little bit of anything like that. But I might try and take a little bit of video of a kind of a quick, you know, like an on-stage sound check thing. Put together a little 5 or 10 minute video of, and I'll try and do that. I think at the venue when we go to Kagoshima, as long as it's okay with everybody. All right. Let's see. Teresa says, "Happy holidays from Tennessee." Hi, Tennessee. What's up? Hope you have a great Christmas. In New York City, freezing in wherever Chris Ferrara is. Freezing today, 23 degrees now. Got down to 19. That's pretty cold. It is in Chicago. I know you guys are getting a lot of snow right now over there, right? Somebody said they saw Hired Guns on Netflix and was disappointed I wasn't in it. Nobody called me. I was talking to Phil X about that when we were in Germany. He's like, "Why were you in that movie?" I don't know. I mean, there's a shitload of Hired Guns out there. I'm just one of a gajillion side people. But it would have been cool to do. Maybe they'll do Hired Guns too. And Merry Christmas from Madrid. Oh man, I haven't been to Madrid in a long time. I really liked it there. I had a good time. It's been 13 years since I've been in Madrid. It's crazy. But I thought it was a really, really beautiful city. And Barcelona too. Really had a lot of fun. I've been all over Spain actually. It's just been a long, long time. But when I think about it, I traveled north to south and east to west all over Spain. Last time I was there was in Bilbao and with Chris Cornell, 2009. It was a festival with like a weird bill. It was like Dave Matthews Band and us, and I can't remember who else played. Lumineers, I think. Alrighty, what else we got here? What do I think of the G&L ASAT Deluxe versus a Chapman ML3 Modern? I don't know anything about Chapman. G&L guitars are always really good guitars, I think. I've never owned one, but they struck me as being, you know, like high quality kind of, like, I sort of think about G&L the same way I think about Ernie Ball, like, just good, solid, you know, American-made guitars. Variations on the Big F. Which overdrives work best with a plexi? It really depends. I mean, on what you're trying to do. It could be anything from a fuzz face to a clon to, you know, I tend to like clons, clon types these days. Clon and clon types. My Archers, I'm really bonding with those. The Tumnus is great too from Wampler. Both really, really solid. The Bondi Sick Ass, really, really good. Have I tried the Keeley Darkside? I have not. I have not. Does the Friedman pedalboard, is there enough power for the H9? Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure exactly how he does it, but the Friedman power grid is the power units, and they're powering the H9 somehow. So you might need to somehow like tie together 2 of the 9 volts or something like that to do it, but there's a way to do it where you can use those power grid power supplies and no problem power the, or maybe not, maybe it's got 9 volt. The H9, I think it needs like, well, I don't know, I'm not sure, but it might be 400 or 500 milliamps or something to power it. So, but I think there's outputs on the power grid that do that. He's thought of all that stuff when he designed it. Sir Doug Aldrich pickups. Don't know a lot about them. I have them in one guitar. You're saying they sound like a Seymour Duncan JB. I didn't find that they had the mids that I think of really high output pickups as being really MIDI, and I thought they were pretty open sounding for high output. But to be honest, I just don't have a great perspective on it. I do have them in one guitar, and it's been a while. You can see me playing it in the, okay, I can remember using it in the Bogner video that I did for the red and the blue pedals. I'm using that double, it's a modern, Sir Modern. And it's still got those pickups in it. Santa brought Francis a Morgan PR12. Congratulations, that's a cool amp. And Jennifer says, what a nice surprise. I'm on live today. I know, I'm sorry I didn't really, literally, it's been like 8 days straight of rehearsal. And I kind of go to rehearsal and then I go back to the hotel. I'm very tired by the time because I'm still jet lagged. So like I end up going out and, you know, trying to get in like an evening of, just like an hour or something, and then I'm dead tired and I just go to bed and get up. So I just didn't, I was kind of spaced out, but then I realized it was Monday here, which means it's Sunday there, so I should get online and do it. What kind of headphones do I use? I really like the good old Sony 7506s. They're not expensive. They're around $75 to $100, I think, depending where you get them. I also recently got some Audio Technicas, and they're the AT50 something or other, similar to the Sonys. They have a bit more bass, I find, fuller, kind of robust sounding low end, which is nice. They're a nice kind of balance to the Sonys. The Sonys are kind of hyped in the high end. Yet I know how to use them. It's like I can mix on them, and it's like kind of like if you were mixing on NS10s or something. You just know how to do it. I learned how to do it. And so when I switch to a different headphone, it's a little weird because I'm like, oh, I don't really, you feel like a little bit of a fish out of water. It's like driving a different car or something. I don't really have a handle on this. But it's not to say that the Audio Technicas aren't as good or anything like that. They sound great. They've just got a fuller bass and fuller low end, and I would have to spend some more time on them and learn them, I think. But I do like the way they sound, maybe even more for listening to music than the Sonys. So whatever floats your boat, you know. Also got some Audio Technicas with open backs on them, and those are interesting. They're a little less like rock and roll sounding, but they do have a nice sort of, I don't know, airiness to them. A little less like sort of punching you in the lows, and a little more like kind of, you know, it's an interesting design, open back headphones. They do make more noise though because they've got open backs, so it's like they're not as isolated, you know, which could bother people on a train or something, I guess, if you were using them. So how am I feeling with the Crybaby Mini? I'm fine with it. It's kind of small, you know. It takes a little getting used to, and I would say it's probably a little bit more dependent, you know, like the types of shoe you wear or whatever is going to actually affect, you know, it might be weird if you're wearing like some funky boots or something like that using the little mini wah, but it sounds really good, and I've only used it on a few things, so I'm getting used to it. But it seems fine. A lot of people are like, why didn't you put a full-size wah? It looks like there's more space. There's not quite enough space on the board for a full-size with the way I have it configured. Might be able to fit the Exotic, I think, because it's a little smaller. And I had an Exotic wah, but there's something wrong with the pod in it, so I took it off last year. But I'm fine with it. The Crybaby's good. To be honest, I'm not like this huge wah aficionado. I don't use it all that much, so it's just to have it there just in case I need it and stand on it every now and then. Certain parts. Dan says, "Stop talking to us nerds." I'm gonna go relatively soon. I got about another 15 minutes or so, and then I got a jet. This one will be a little short of an hour, I think, but I got a few things I got to do. So, but I'm happy to be here actually with y'all's. And let's see. Okay, here's the question about the Riot Reloaded. The person that was asking, it's the only Rick James, says, I honestly, excuse me, want to run the Reloaded through the clean channel of my Engel Powerball. Seems like it would be a nice addition to the modern Engel amp. Yeah, I would agree with that. It can be nice if you've got a real modern distorted thing to get. That's kind of what I do on the PT100, although it's it's more of like the true Marshally sort of channel 2 and 3. But I try and augment that sound with a couple nice choice pedals to get a different overdrive or distortion character through the clean channel. So you might be able to get a more of a kind of a high mid-cut Marshally thing with the Riot Reloaded through the Engel. If the Engel's 6L6, like you say, it's probably got a big, fat, grindy, full thing going on. So yeah, give it a try. Who's my favorite bass player? The names that came to mind were just like John Paul Jones and Paul McCartney and Geddy Lee and all the stylists, you know. John Entwistle, for sure. Favorite bass players that I know, my favorites are my buddy John Button and Jürgen Carlson. I love playing with those guys. Okay, chat jumped around a little bit. Let's see here. Just pick up a new Sir Bella non-reverb combo. Have I used that amp in a live situation? Not yet, but man, it sounds so good. I played my Bella the other day, and Jamie Kime, this amazing guitar player, was playing through it, and he loved it too. And he's such a good guitar player, and he sounded really good. Actually, using it like kind of not clean. Like he's a good, you know, he's got so much tone and control in his hands. We had it in the 44 watt mode, cranked up to about, with the boost on, around 4 or 5. So it's breaking up a bit, and it sounded really, really cool. Maybe even it was on 6, you know, like kind of driving it. It's got a good thing when you turn it up and drive it, because it doesn't fart out. I know it's sort of seen as a clean pedal platform, but it also sounds good when you turn it up and get it cooking a bit. All right, the chat just blew out. And I'm going to try and use a different browser next time I do this, because maybe it's Safari. Maybe Safari, and it just kind of sucks. Okay, I'm going to back up a little bit, and I'm going to try and burn through a whole bunch of questions here as quick as I can. Just give me 1 second here to figure out where I was. I'm doing my best to not miss questions. I'm really sorry if I miss your question, but I feel like when I spend time doing this, and it's boring for people if I don't just move along. So okay. Okay, I'm going to stop right here in the chat and just kind of do my best to answer a bunch of these. What guitarists have I personally played with on stage that gave me cold shivers? Warren Haynes, or but he's so nice too to play with. He was really encouraging, and it was cool. It was totally cool. But it's like, whoa, Warren Haynes, that dude's amazing. I'm on stage with him. Or maybe Stewart also, that was Don's guitarist, and he's been in the Eagles forever, playing with the Eagles. He's such a great guitar player. Those are the guys that really come to mind right now. Stuart Smith. But I'm sure there's others that I'm just spacing on that, Peter Frampton, that was really cool. I jammed with Peter, and he came out and played at a Chris Cornell gig, and it was amazing. It's like, whoa. Anytime there's all, like a legend that gets up there, it's just incredible. Let's see. Lando Music says you attended a Sir clinic with Ian in Ottawa, and he said he found Sir through you. Yeah, Ian and I were Facebook friends, and I was talking to him, and just Facebook messaging. I'd never met him yet, and he said, I said to him, "Hey, have you ever tried Sir?" And he said, "I can't find them in Canada. They're a little bit difficult to find. I'm not sure if they had Cosmo that was a dealer or not, but he said they're a little difficult to find. It's a number of years ago." Meanwhile, I had introduced John to the Albatross album, the Big Wreck album. He said, "You got to hear this record. Like, this guy's an amazing songwriter, singer, and to boot, he plays guitar like no one else." And so John became a really big fan. I said, "Well, John loves your music, and you guys should know one another." So they ended up, long story short, becoming good friends, and the rest is history. Ian's now part of the Sir family. But Ian is such a lovely guy. And what a musician. But I really have a lot of fondness for that dude. He's just a really, really nice person, and such a terrific guitar player and musician. One of a kind, really. What made me change the Koji comp on my board? Really, right now, it's size. I just, the little Wampler sounds great. The little Ego comp. Really happy with it. and really terrific. Did I consider a Les Paul style guitar when I asked about my signature guitar? You know, it's just that I'm most comfortable, to be honest. I love Les Pauls, but if you had to ask me where I'm most comfortable, it is on a Strat style body, because I grew up playing that with the arm contours, 25.5 scale, tremolo. It's just, that is my probably most comfortable home bass, which isn't to say that I can't play a Les Paul or Gibson style guitar and love it. It's been, you know, months only playing those kinds of guitars and really enjoy them, but coming back to a Strat style always really feels good. What's the first pedal I owned? The first pedal I owned was a Chorus that was maybe called Amec or Amtech or something like that. It was like a 2-knob Chorus, analog Chorus, sounded great. Do I still have it? I think it's somewhere in a box in Edmonton in storage. And the other thing I had was a Boss Super Overdrive. I had that too. Played them through a little Trainer 10-watt amp. Pete does tech support, says Spider. That's true. Generally speaking, I do. Oh, I think I just screwed up the chat again. Ugh, guys, I'm so sorry. Man, I find this so difficult to navigate. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to take a second to... oh, man. I'm going to miss so many of these questions. I'm going to try, I don't know, Firefox or Chrome or something next time I do this, I think. Okay, I'm just going to go through and do the best I can here. Merry Christmas from Santa Cruz, Bolivia. What's up? And let's see. What mid-frequency did EBH notch out at the mixing board? Nobody knows. Only Don Landay probably knows. Okay. Jason says, me and Thornley would make a great band together. God, I'd love to be in a band with Ian. That'd be so cool. Did get to do that one jam with him. That was really fun. Maybe we'll do something together someday. I hope so. We knocked around the idea. I'll say that just a little bit. So I would love to play with him. Okay. Yeah, I see I'm way back in the chat now because there's a question about the reactive load in the IRs. So moving forward. Oh, Scott Music says he tagged me on Facebook post with a video of a guy who looks about 70 just shredding beautifully on what looks like my signature Sir. It's not my signature Sir. It looks like a Pensa Sir to me, like an early one. But I saw it and John saw it too, and he shared it on Sir shared it on his, and he said, you know, I can't remember what he said, but something like age isn't important or whatever. The guy is really playing great, and he does look old, like older, like he looks 70 for sure, and he's just absolutely like shredding on this guitar, but in a really, really musical way. Actually, it's not like just, you know, a bunch of licks or whatever. I really enjoyed it. I got about another 10 minutes, guys, and then I got to split. And Chris says he's glad he was introduced to me from Henning's channel, Henning Pauly. Henning's a great guy, and he's a funny guy, and I really enjoyed getting to know him at the GitCon thing, and I thank him for having me there. It was a great thing he put together. I look forward to going there again. What else? People often refer to Thornley as the Canadian Chris Cornell. Since you've worked with both people, what's my opinion on that description? I heard the Cornell thing in Ian's voice early on, and I don't hear it anymore. Like, as I got to hear, you know, there's a similarity in the tonality sometimes of their voices, I guess, which is just a human thing. You know, some people sound more like other people than others. But I don't really hear it anymore. It's like now I just hear Ian's voice as a distinct thing. So they both were, you know, obviously have an amazing range and incredible vocal abilities. So there's that. But also I think Ian comes from a different, you know, I mean, Ian, he comes from a different, Chris had huge wide-ranging influences, and Ian had some of that. I mean, there's obviously a Zeppelin influence there that probably runs through both, but Ian's also got his whole side where he's, you know, I don't know, like Steve Morse and stuff like that. You know, I don't think Chris was ever down that road. So there's different influences there and stuff like that. And the slide guitar, the you know, obviously Sonny Landreth and Ry Cooder, and Ian's super into that zone too. And that's how, you know, affects how you write, your influences and stuff, I guess. Toronto's having a white Christmas. I'm sure it is. That's what I hear. 20 centimeters of snow falling there. Thanks for all the Insta stories, says Jennifer. Those go-kart things look cool. Yeah, there's these crazy go-karts you can ride around in Tokyo here and rent them. It looks so dangerous because literally like, it's like 4 people in go-karts going by, and then 2 guys come burning down the street in Lamborghinis the other day. And I'm like, those guys, they're not going to see those go-karts. It just seems like crazy. Anyway. If I had a gig with just one guitar, amp, and pedal, it would be the PT100 and my signature guitar. I can totally do that. Kind of almost what I did last year in France, was really use my one main guitar and my amp. And it says one pedal. I would probably pick a delay pedal of some sort. Good versatile delay. But yeah, I could do a gig with like a tuner, a delay, and my PT100, my signature guitar, and it would be cool. Why don't I use direct plug connections like the Moore ones? I just do what Friedman thinks is best. He's built a million rigs, and you know, I don't know if direct plug connections is that not soldered. Yeah, I know he believes in soldering all the connections and stuff, and he doesn't like the solderless plugs. And I leave that up to him because he's built so many rigs that he knows what lasts and stuff. I don't, you know, I just defer to whatever cable ends, all that kind of stuff, whatever he thinks he should use. It's best to just roll with it. Why did I choose a standard neck heel? Well, it is kind of contoured on my signature, sir. I mean, it's cut. It's just like the standard. I find their standard heel works perfect. Like with the, you know, it's got kind of the slope to it, and it's only about that wide on one side. So I'm comfortable on a Strat. That heel never bothered me on a guitar, but on the, it's extra cool on my. I never even noticed it on my guitar. So if that explains. Are my H9s core or max? One of them's a max, and the other one is, I don't know if they had the core. It's not. It wasn't. I can't remember when they first came out. The one that's on my board was the first H9 that came out, and I think back then I don't know if they had those distinctions. But then later on I got another one that was the max. And once you get a max one, then I think you've got access to all the, you know, if you've got a second one, you can load up whatever you want into it. Kind of let you do that. Pretty sure about that. Okay, I'm going to try and just in 5 minutes answer a whole bunch here. Oh, I like my coffee. Any sugar? Black. A little bit of sugar, a little bit of cream, generally. Try and use coconut milk creamer. I actually really like it. So, which guitarist? Oh, back to the cold shivers question. So, I'm going to move down further here a little bit. Which guitarist gave me cold shivers to play with? It's good. It's good to remember when you get on stage with people like somebody like a Warren Haynes or something, that it's just about making music, and you're different than them, and you just do the best you can. You just be yourself, and it's not a competition. You know, you're lucky to be up there, and just do the best you can. Do what you can do, because you're not them and they're not you. Okay, moving down. Sorry. Will Sir be doing a neck through body design in the new year? I don't know. Neck through is kind of a different thing. You know, I don't know if they do neck through body guitars at all. You know, where the neck is, it runs the entire length of the guitar. So. What told your Lone Wolf's? I don't understand the question, but he says, what told your mom when you spend a lot of time in your room playing guitar? I did growing up. This is part of being in Canada, because it's like winter time and always cold, and so you end up spending a lot of time inside, you know, either getting in trouble or playing guitar, I guess. Okay. This is from Krish again. Just quickly, my channel inputs on UA console are muted, logic monitoring only. There's still a bit of fizziness coming from somewhere in the sound. It's probably to do with mix IR2. You need to make sure that you've got the dry signal mixed 100% out. So set the dry. I think it's a big red knob there that's got the wet dry mix on it. Mix that 100% out, and also check in the left side. It's a little bit confusing where you load the IRs in. There's a routing thing, and you can route it in parallel and route it in series and stuff. You need to look at that and just make sure. Just load up one IR in one slot, and make sure the mix is set 100% wet, and see if that solves your problem. Yeah. Try a different plugin if you're having an issue for loading the IR. Just a really, really simple one, like Pulse from Rosen. Pulse is Rosen Digital. Try that. It's kind of foolproof, and because MixIR2 is a little bit more heady as far as the routing and stuff like that goes. Once you get it figured out, it's great. But if you're having an issue, just use a bonehead simple IR loader and just make sure that you don't have any dry signal mixed in. Try the same IR that you were trying in MixIR2, and make sure it sounds right. Okay. I was trying the Nux. How do you say it again? I always forget. Or Nuex. I always forget how to say it. It's not Nux. It's Nuex Cerberus. The other day, great unit, but I think they always try too hard with the distortion. I actually think the distortion sounds really good in that thing. I was pleasantly surprised. I was prepared for it to not sound good, and I thought it was quite usable. That was my honest opinion of it. It was like this is a decent like sounding distortion pedal. Talking about that kind of multi-effect board that's inexpensive, like $3.99, does a million different things that I recently did a review of. What algorithms do I use with Strymon Mobius for your current setup? I'm using the vibrato. I'm using the swell, the Univibe tremolo, harmonic tremolo. I love that. I love the Strymon harmonic tremolo. I always have. Sounds great to me. Let's see, how long does it normally take you to do your guitar sound check? That's generally like in Japan. You get a little bit more time than most gigs, but it's like generally they spend the drummer's like, can you give me the kick, and then it's like kick for like 4 minutes, right? Okay, give me the snare. The guy hits the snare for like 4 or 5 minutes. Okay, go around the top. Yeah, I've got it on the floor, so I've got the Kemper hooked up with the Helix, and I can use them both. And the Kemper's sort of running in the effects loop of the Helix, so I can switch it in as though it was like an amp, and I was using it 4-cable method. That's how I've got it set up. So I can either use the sounds in the Helix or I can use the sounds in the Kemper for the amp sounds and cab sounds, and then I use the Helix for most of the effects. Does Jake Ely use a flanger on the solo for Bark of the Moon? I would say so, is my memory of it. Could have been done in the studio, maybe post, maybe it was like a rack thing or something. They just put on the mix. I don't really know. Any tips for avoiding the studio freeze when having to come up with a part on the spot? It's hard, man. That's a good question. Like, parts on the spot, it's just, I always find it hard, too, when you got a bunch of people saying, do this, and they're just telling you apart, okay, try this, and you're like, can I just play for a second? Just stop. And they jump from one thing to the other, and they sing you a part, but they're being creative, too, and it's almost like, just take the guitar and you do it. And you have to avoid that kind of, like, getting frustrated thing, and it's a balance, a balancing act. Listening to, like using a frame of reference, like, a standard one is if you need an ambient part or like a, dotted eighth delay, you think of the Edge, what would the Edge do? Or think about different guitar players and what they would do. What would Gilmour do? What would, Clapton do, like a simple fill or something? What would, just different people, like what think stylistically, listen to a bunch of different guitar players and really get inside their parts, and sort of more than knowing the actual parts they do, their sort of musical choices, aesthetic choices or whatever, like how they decorate a track, Okay, well, and then when you're listening to something and you're trying to figure out a part, just go, well, I'm going to try and draw on my influences and try some different things. Okay, time to go soon. If you had your Ditto looper on your pedal board, where would it be, first or after the overdrive? That's a really good question. I gotta split, you guys. I gotta go in like 3 minutes. Do you want the looper running into your delays and stuff is the question, right? So, so that it's maybe you want it so that it's not getting echo and stuff. You know, so if it's just a core rhythm part that you're doing, so it just depends. It's hard to say. It's like no two setups are the same. I'm not a looping expert either, but I do use the looper in the Helix a lot. It's fun. Okay. Let's see here. Just trying to find a few more here. Super Motor Cat says he's jealous I got to play Seasons with Chris. Yeah, me too, man. I'm jealous of myself. I wish I got to play Seasons with Chris again. I really do. I had a lot of. I'll say I had a lot of dreams about that guy last night, all night. And it's kind of like when I finally woke up at about 6:50 or 7 in the morning. I was like, it's time to get up. I don't want to think about this. I don't want to fall back asleep anymore. If that makes sense. I don't know if you ever have feelings like that where you feel like it's all right. I can't do that anymore right now. So I just got up. I could have slept more, but yeah, man. Thinking a lot about him. It's Christmas. Just thinking about his whole circle. Anyway, video's fine, but the sound is pretty. Yeah, I know the sound sucks on this with Wirecast. Part of the problem is that the fan runs on my computer, and it probably sounds like wind blowing through the. It uses the fan because I think it's a real taxing program to be streaming like this, and then there's just nothing I can do about it. I could get a separate microphone, I guess, and experiment with that. It might work better. Okay, like two more. Somebody said they found me by doing a search for Pete Thorn, which is funny. I have a funny story about that I don't have time to tell right now. But somebody asked me about the Pete Thorn story because there's been a few mistaken cases of identity. What strings do I use? Ernie Ball, either the phosphor bronze for acoustics or just regular old. I use RPS 10s actually, which are special kind of reinforced plain 10s. There's my alarm. It's telling me I gotta go. All right. Couple more and then I gotta go. Joey says, saw you with Cornell in 07. You guys really nailed it. All the different sounds of the original bands. It was very impressive. Thanks. It was really a challenge and fun to do, and really fun to learn all that music, and then attempt to, like, it was really magical actually, just to get to like, okay, I gotta make the rotary sound for Black Hole Sun. Then I'm actually gonna play it with the guy tomorrow. It was really. Like I was? I felt like I was, on cloud 9 or whatever. Exceptional time. Is it dangerous to connect a 4-ohm like Fender Sal amp to an 8-ohm load box like the Surreactive load? Generally, you can mismatch up, and one mismatch like 4 to 8 is cool. 8 to 4, not so good. So if you've got an 8-ohm amp and then a 4-ohm load box or attenuator or something, that, as I understand it, isn't technically a good thing to do. But generally Fenders tolerate a one-way mismatch higher. So 8 to 16 or 4 to 8 is okay, and you're safe. I use my old Bassman all the time with the Sur load, and it's fine. It's not going to sound. You don't want to say it's good because it's going to. I find that it doesn't quite have the headroom that the amp would normally, but it still sounds great. Okay, last question. When I do dual cab, dual mic, do I try to mix warm and more vibrant mics like Ribbon and Dynamic? I do that a lot, yeah. Many times it's a 57, prominently the 57 in the mix, but I like to blend in a Ribbon. It does sound really good. And I've been experimenting with blending in a room mic at my space because I've got when I can crank it up in there, the room, if you put a mic way back in the room, just blend that in a little bit, it sounds killer. Really cool. And generally, as far as distance, I'm that far from the grill cloth of the speaker, the grill cloth. So back an inch or, inch and a half maybe. Sometimes a little bit more. And occasionally, if you're just using a ribbon mic, which I like to do sometimes for clean sounds, if it doesn't have to be so edgy, you can pull the ribbon mic back a little bit, put it dead center on the speaker, or maybe just off for a little bit, but generally dead center. And you can pull it back, a foot, 2 feet from the cabinet and get a nice sort of very natural sound. That's a good good thing to try. Okay, you guys, I got to run. Try and do this again next week. Try and be a little bit more on it and do it earlier. But Merry Christmas, everybody. I hope you guys have a great Christmas. And Christmas for probably most people watching this is tomorrow. But I hope everybody has a terrific holiday with your families and stuff like that. And we will see you next time. All right, over and out from Tokyo. See ya.